There are many weaknesses to the argument from authority. I'm going to list some of them here. One is translatability. That is, even if we take as a given that someone is an expert in a field, now it may not necessarily be the case that just because they're an expert in one general field and have had success in that field, it may not necessarily be the case that their expertise in one specific area in that field can be translated to another specific area of that same general field, but yet they're still given the credit for having an overall general expertise. In the case of in epidemiology, the expert may have very good skill and expertise in, specifically with influenza epidemics, but we don't necessarily know that their skill and expertise translates over to skill and expertise with a coronavirus type of epidemic. Another weakness of the argument from authority is the desire to please the audience. While we all know about the potential problem in research with the desire to please the researcher, that's why we have the double-blind studies, but I think there can be the case that experts, authorities, they're humans, just like anybody else, and they have their own weaknesses that they may not be aware of. In the case of epidemiologists, they often show up on television in an interview with these celebrity journalists, and with these these journalists, they go, when they interview the epidemiologist expert, these famous celebrity journalists say, "Well, you're the experts. Tell us what to do. What's happening here? What's going on? We want to know." And then you have this academic epidemiologist. Are they thinking, "Well, geez, I wanna." They're looking at me, looking for answers. I don't want to let them down, even though the more an accurate answer would be for them maybe to say, "I don't know," but they don't want to say that, and they don't want to let down these celebrity journalists that are giving them the expert all this attention, and all these viewers too out there they know that are watching, waiting for them for the expert to let everybody know what's going on and what to do. And so the expert may be thinking, without even being fully conscious of it, coming up with an answer that may be just a best guess, but in a desire to please the audience, the expert treats the answer as though they're certain of their answer, and giving a clear response, even though they're very uncertain of the accuracy of their response, but they just want to provide a clear answer because they want to please the audience. And so that may be a psychological a problem with the psychological factor bringing out the weakness of the argument from authority. All right. Another problem is corruptibility. There may be some reason why they're making statements that they are giving. It may be. There's corruptibility can take up many forms, and not necessarily a greed, but that could be one form. Maybe they're getting paid to give a certain response. They may have some kind of underlying motivation, conflict of interest may be involved, involving patents, for medical patents, for instance, but corruptibility can come in the form of maybe they're being pressured to hold some position, to present some narrative that their careers may depend on them to put forward, even though they may not believe in that position at all. But they may be some behind the scenes pressure that we not aware of. Like expert humans can be thought of as, in some ways, like expert computer systems utilizing artificial intelligence. But as we know, any software program can become corrupt through either bugs or hacking. But then the code itself has become corrupted, but we may not know just from looking at the output that is the case. There may be no way of knowing whether or not the code has been corrupted, just by looking at the output. That could be the same thing with human experts. We may have no idea what kind of influences, if there's some equivalent of a hacking or a bug going on with those humans that are providing the output, their statements that they're giving us. I mean, how do we know? Unless we, the observer, actually dig into the research ourselves and do think for ourselves about the research, and look at the research, look at the evidence, look at the statistics, and come to our own conclusions, and contrast that with whatever the experts are saying, and then make up our own minds, think for ourselves. We cannot count on the experts necessarily being free of all forms of possible corruption. You can never know just by looking at the output. We have to think for ourselves. Another problem, potential weakness with the argument from authority, is we never know whether their expertise is being attributed to skill or luck. How much of it is to skill and how much of it is due to luck? It may be the case that I think this could be especially the case in terms of epidemiology. There hasn't been that many epidemics in the history of in modern history to look back on in order to glean results from an inductive reasoning standpoint, especially compared to something like weather systems. We can compare. It's just, I mean, there's a good analogy between weather systems, storms, and pandemics. But even though we have so many years of daily weather to go by and develop these complex computer systems, weather forecasts are still can be erroneous, especially going long terms into the future. Even though we have so much history, so many thousands and thousands of storms, hundreds of thousands of storms, millions of days of weathers, data. But still, and so many different weather forecasters looking at that, and complex expert computer systems, and still difficult to get it right. But compare that with epidemiology, there's not that many cases to go by, and yet we're treating it as though, oh yeah, these experts, they know what they're doing. How do they know? How do we know what they're doing? Even if we say, oh yeah, they've gotten it right in these past cases, how do we know that's not just like how do we know they didn't just get it right out of sheer luck? I mean, if you look at somebody that's at a casino playing a roulette wheel, something like pure chance, or slot machine, and sometimes they have like strings of luck, streaks of luck, of a winning. But we'd never say, oh yeah, they got skill. They know what they're doing there. That's a roulette wheel person, because they keep winning so many times in a row. But it's not because of skill. It's just because of sheer luck. And that could be the case in with experts. Maybe they've gotten it right in the past due to sheer luck. We've even seen that with, say, in the financial markets, where people have made they've been very successful in predicting some past, like the 2008 financial crisis. They could say, I predicted that, but it's one crisis. But later on, they make all these other mistakes. Say, but they're wrong about all those other ones. But and so you wonder, well, did they predict the 08 crisis out of luck, or were they really experts? Maybe it was just luck that they got it right. And so, with experts in something like a virus epidemic, how many epidemics have they gotten right? How accurate were they? I mean, there's not even an examination of that. I mean, there's not these celebrity journalists that are not asking these epidemiologists, asking, oh, what's your track record? What did you get right in the past, and how do we measure from a empirical content standpoint of your accuracy record? How reliable have you been? They're not. I mean, the journalists are not asking that. They're just like, oh, tell us, what do we do? What's going on here? Again, like they're going back to that desire to please the audience thing again. They're not being these are the experts. They're not being scrutinized. And it just whatever they say, you're the expert. Tell us what to do. What's going on? We don't know what to do. Please tell us. And so we need to factor that in whenever we're saying, oh well, the expert said this, and then and somebody like myself counters that what the experts are saying, and then somebody might say, respond, so you know more than the expert. These epidemiologists have been going to school for so many years. You think you're smarter than them? Well, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying I'm smarter than them or not smarter than them. I'm just saying that there's the weakness. Their argument from authority is weak. There's a lot of reasons, and I've listed them out here. And so we need to think for ourselves, come to our own conclusions, because we cannot rely on the argument from authority, because it is epistemologically weak. We cannot rely on it necessarily to know what is true and what is false. That's what I wanted to present for this video. And thanks for watching. Mm-hmm.